Okay, so this is a revision class, and it's the class that we should have taken at 12 p.m. today, Monday, October 14th. And yani since it comes in the middle of the midterm exams, I thought it would be a good idea if we kind of turn it into a revision class, and we can also invite our colleagues from the other class. They have a class tomorrow. If we finish everything, we're not going to have a revision class tomorrow. If we have like if we leave something, we're going to keep it perhaps to tomorrow, and we can agree on a convenient time, mutually convenient, of course, for both of us tomorrow, inshallah. Bye. I went through my notes as far as Candide is concerned, and I found out that we have even spoken more than is required when it comes to its themes and ideas and the technical issues that we have been addressing. So what we're going to do with Candide tonight would be a revision. It's going to be part of what we're going to do with the other pieces of work. So let's get started with, of course, we spoke about time periods, and by now you know what time periods are. We spoke about the different backgrounds. And by the way, when it comes to the midterm exam and even the final, the backgrounds to the different time periods and ages are as important as the works themselves. They can come in especially short answer questions. So you need to also invest enough and sufficient time on those areas. I mean, time periods. We have the Renaissance as a time period. We have even the medieval times, the Elizabethan age. This is a time period, and then you move on to the 18th century, which is another very important time period, and it has ideas and ideologies that you are now very familiar with. So we're going to start with, we have three works, and perhaps we need to start with the format of the midterm exam, our expectations as how it should look like, and my expectations, as far as marking is concerned. So I think Ms. Fatma sent you the format of the exam, the different portions. I mean, very important guidelines, right? You have received that, and I think they, whatever guidelines she sent is or are now posted on the LMS on the course page. So, of course, you know that the exam is divided into two parts. You have the short answer or answers part, where you normally have like three uh, questions, and you're supposed to attempt two out of them. And then you move on to the second part, the larger part, which is essays. And you'll be given at least two topics, and you're going to choose to write on one of them. You're going to write essays, of course, in the second part. Let me tell you about my expectations as far as the short answers part is concerned. If you're going to attempt, of course, you have to attempt them. Let's agree on something. Let's agree on the fact that after what you have done over those past 6 or 7 weeks, there is no such thing that I don't know. You know a lot, and you have more knowledge than you give yourself credit for. Make no mistake about it. So you know. So the idea that you don't know, that should be out of the question, which means that you're not a football player and sometimes you're out of luck on the day of the match or something. No, we're not football players, right? It's not a matter of luck. You have invested heavily in the course in terms of time, in terms of energy and efforts, and it's pay time. So Wednesday is going to be your pay time. So I would like you to kind of take it easy and negotiate with the meaning, negotiate with the exam paper, and I'm sure you're going to come up with very beautiful things. So To leave a question unattempted, and it is a required question, you should like banish and dismiss this from your vocabulary, right? So what happens if you insist on leaving questions unattempted and you should attempt them? You have yourself to blame them. Don't come to me and say, I'm sorry, I was short of time, or perhaps I went blank because I'm a poet and I was waiting for the inspiration to come and it didn't come. No, you're not a poet, right? Are you a poet? Are we waiting for inspiration from wherever? No. You have studied very well, I assume. We have done enough together. I've been talking talking for so long, and it's about time that you kind of gave us back what we have given you in terms of knowledge and in terms of the synthesis that you're going to make. My ideas, your ideas, the book's ideas, and you put everything together and you give us something decent. Okay? So can we make this commitment? Can we make this commitment? Yeah,
Inshallah.
commitment is like promise. Okay, promise that if I'm supposed to answer, out of the three questions that I will have in the short answer questions, if they want us to answer two, we answer two. We don't answer one and say, sorry, I went blank. On the third, on the second one, I don't remember. No. Okay. And the same applies to the essay question, of course. If you ask me about which is better, to write little or to write much, of course, there should be, or you should have a sense of moderation. It's not about writing too little and it's not about writing too much. Okay. But of course, writing more is better than writing little. Okay. So if you decide to write much, you need to be sensible in your answer. It's not about filling the pages with nonsense, if you like. No. Okay. But correspondingly, you shouldn't be writing too little because this is not math or science where 1 + 1 = 2. This is literature. And with literature, you need to expand on the ideas. You need to give examples. You need to explain stuff. And that would take time and that would take also space. Okay? So in the short answer questions, short answers does not mean that you're going to write a small paragraph. No. This is not my definition of an answer to a short answer question. Okay, so half a page is what I'm expecting with each short answer question. So if you're writing, if there are two questions that you should answer in the short answer section, I expect a page for the two. More? No, we don't want to turn it into a full-fledged essay because we have a second part, and the second part is where you should write essays. Okay? So to write a small paragraph in the short answers question and you believe that you're doing a good job, no, I'm sorry, I'm telling you, you're not doing a good job. And I'll tell you why, very scientifically. The short answers questions are about concepts and ideas. And those concepts and ideas are from, uh, what we said, the works that we have done, the background to the age that we also have done, right? So when I give you a short answer question to answer, I expect you to first of all clarify or explain the concept, if it's a concept. Okay, let's talk about, for example, I'm talking about revenge tragedy. So you need to define what revenge tragedy is. You need to talk about its characteristics. Okay, so if you write about that and you write fully, that would take half a page, if not more. And you haven't finished. Why? Because you still have. So first of all, you define, you explain the concept and clarify it. Okay, and then you refer to the works that has this and then you give relevant examples from the works. Would that take a small paragraph? I'm asking you. Would that take a small paragraph? Would a small paragraph be enough to do all of that? To explain, to refer
No.
to the works, and then you give relevant examples? No, it wouldn't be enough. So do yourself a service and make it bigger than a small paragraph. Like I said, half a page would be fair enough for everyone. If you can write more and it is relevant and sensible, that's fine. I don't mind. Are we agreed on the short answer part? Yeah, we're agreed. And then we move to the essay question part. So how many essays are you supposed to write? It's only one essay. So they are going to give you like two topics or two questions, and you're supposed to write on one of them. So writing one essay is no big deal. That's why you need to give us your best. Okay. So how many pages? And I hate to measure it in terms of pages, but over the years, measuring it this way made it clearer or closer to you. Um, at least 2 pages. The more, the merrier. The more in a sensible way, of course. It's not about filling the pages and full stop. No. So you fill the pages with relevance and sensibility. So it has to, whatever you're saying should make sense, should be relevant. Okay? So at least 2 pages, and obviously 2 pages wouldn't be, if you ask me, if I am the student, 2 pages wouldn't be, I would write more because I have a lot to share and I have a lot that is very relevant, that is very sensible. So 2 pages, 2 pages and a half, 3 pages, no problem. More, if it's relevant, that's fine. Are you getting the point? So whether it's short answers
Yes, yes.
or essays, you need to be relevant. You need to be to the point. You need to be sensible in your answer. You need to make sense. You need to also write at least 2 pages and a half, at least. So this is as far as the size and the length and the clarity um, is concerned. And
Mr.
then, yeah, go ahead.
Are we gonna write like for a paper and a half in the
انت مش
midterm?
سامعاني ولا ايه؟ مش سامعاني؟
إلا بس بتكفي الورقة يعني؟
كفي الورقة، بس انا ما قلتش 4 و5 ورقات. ولا انت قصدك في الاختبار كله يعني، ولا
لا،
على
في
سؤال؟
الاختبار يعني هل
لا
بيكون
ما فيش كده.
عندنا كلمات
انت
محددة؟
ما انا يعني انت مش سامعاني الظاهر. Where have you been on the past يعني 15 minutes on another planet or something?
كتير.
And طيب I'm not going to repeat myself. Again, short answers, I expect you to write half a page in each of the short answers. If you have to write or if you have to answer two short answer questions, so each of them is going to take half a page. So you have a page for the short answers part, half and half. And I said what I need. Okay, so I need you to clarify or explain the concept. I need you to refer the work where the concept is featured, and I need you to provide relevant examples from the work. Okay, and I gave you the example. If we're talking, for example, about revenge tragedy. So if you're going to talk about revenge tragedy, what are you going to say? You need to say that revenge tragedy is such and such, and it was widespread during such and such age, and its characteristics is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and then you talk about you provide examples from, for example, the Duchess of Malfi. Okay, and that would be it. Okay, We talk about catharsis, for example, as a concept, the idea of purgation of excessive feelings, which is something that we have seen with tragedies. You explain what catharsis is. You explain where catharsis is in terms of what kind of genres. You talk about tragedies. And you refer to situations in Othello, for example, where we have catharsis. See? So this is if you're doing short answers questions. Obviously, with the essay part and the essay questions, I said that 2 pages and 2 pages and a half would be the minimum, not the maximum, mind you. At least 2 pages and at least 2 pages and a half. Okay. Again, I made it clear that I'm after clarity. I am after sensibility when it comes to writing. You need to make sense, and I'm after relevance. Okay, what happens if you don't have any of that? You find yourself going blank on that day because you were waiting for the inspiration and it never came. Should you leave the exam paper empty like some people does or do? No. Fill it with anything. Write the biography of the author. I shouldn't be saying this, but okay, which is better in your opinion? I'm asking you to have something written on the exam paper and you take a mark or two, or you leave it blank, nothing. Which is better for me as a teacher?
Of
What do you
course,
think?
doctor, it's better to write anything
Yeah,
that we
right.
know.
So,
Mm.
okay.
And maybe
So
the ideas will flow.
yeah, yeah. Encourage yourself. I mean, don't
Yes,
leave yourself to yourself. ما تسيبش نفسك أو نفسك لشيطان نفسك أو نفسك. Right? لا, you know, ما شاء الله. You know a lot. You know, you have more knowledge than you give yourself credit for. I promise you. See? Like somebody is asking a question. Hey, go ahead.
So I wanted to ask if we have to include some quotations in the essays, or if it's just okay if we explained uh, the scenes and the acts in the essay.
If your memory is that good and you can memorize stuff that is of course significant, that's fine. That's excellent. But what happens if you're like me and like everybody else in the room? I mean, our memories are very short. Would that take away from the beauty of what you're saying? Absolutely not. That's fine. So if you can, you can. If you cannot, rephrase or paraphrase or, right? Are you getting my point,
Thank you,
Haya?
doctor.
You're welcome.
Yes,
Yeah,
doctor.
somebody else is asking. Yeah, go ahead.
Are we required to memorize the act numbers? Like, for example, in Act 4, Scene 2, this and that happens, or just have general knowledge of what
No,
goes
you
on?
don't have to.
Okay, thank
Again,
you.
if your memory is good enough, that's fine. If not, like me, and my memory is very short, that's fine too. Yeah, yeah. You don't have to worry about it. Let's move to Tagreed.
Yes, doctor.
Yeah.
For me, I want to just clarify that when I start my introduction for the essay, do I have to mention the Renaissance era, or I just make my introduction about the tragedy itself for the both plays for Othello and the Duchess of Malfi?
I don't want generic introductions. Yani, as we speak, people are memorizing stuff that they can include in every single question, and this is something that I don't welcome. So write according to what is required. That's why people have to invest the right amount of time reading the essay prompt or reading the question prompt. So read it, understand it, differentiate between the concept and the keywords. The keyword, I mean, the concept and the keywords are one thing, and then the instruction words. Okay? So highlight the keywords, the concepts, And these are the ideas that you're going to expound and make big. And then, of course, we ask you to write an essay, right? So
Yes,
this
doctor.
is so this is actually what you should do. I even forgot your question. What was it? Sorry. تغريد يعني tell me again.
Yes,
Then
doctor.
I'm not
For
I'm not
me,
clear.
because I want to,
Mm,
I'm sorry.
that's
For
fine.
me, because I want to start my introduction for
Mm,
the essay. So in my mind, I want to, like, for the Renaissance era. I
mm.
have to start my essay before I go into and collaborating with the essay itself,
Well,
with the
if
Renaissance, or with
yeah,
the tragedy itself.
if the question requires that, if you think that this is relevant, you use an introduction, provided that this introduction is short and sweet. You don't spend the rest of your life writing the introduction and leave everything else. See,
Of course,
again, it should be relevant to what the question is asking, and it's also should be short and sweet.
of course. Thank
Oh,
you, Doctor.
yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions before we perhaps do some revision? Okay, طيب, let's do the revision. And the
معلش
revision,
doctor,
yeah, go ahead,
I just have a
Shaden.
question.
Mm,
The last novel, Othello, is
Candide.
it fully with us or
Yeah,
just a
I
part of
mean,
it?
no, it's not about being a part. I finished everything as far as, explaining the whole idea is concerned. So it's with us because when you read it, you're not going to read half or three quarters of them and leave the rest. So you read it, or perhaps you have read it, or you have read a summary, or whatever the case, and then link all of this to the ideas that I have been talking about in it. So we have, and I said that this is how I started with. I said that we have more ideas about Candide than we hoped for, if you like. So you don't have a problem at all when it comes to doing Candide. I'll come to it in perhaps half an hour because we're going to start with the other two. We're going to start with Othello and then move on to the Duchess of Malfi and then make the transition to Candide. Okay, so are we agreed on those principles and guidelines as far as the form of the exam is concerned, as far as my expectations are concerned? Do you have any issues with that? Obviously, I'm not saying something new. Every teacher is sharing this with you. I mean, is sharing almost the same guidelines when it comes to the size of the answer, when it comes to being sensible, being relevant, right? Okay, right. Let's start with Othello. Remember, I told you that normally part of the short answers questions are inspired by and are based on the backgrounds to the different time periods and ages. So you need to invest enough time and sufficient time on the background to perhaps the 16th century and the 15th, I mean the Renaissance period, and also the Elizabethan age. Remember what we said about the theater as being the genre of choice. Remember what we said about the Elizabethan age as being um, a time when there was progress and liberalism, and the queen, the sitting queen at the time, Elizabeth I, was a promoter of the sciences and the arts and the system of patronage that was there. The fact that, we said that, playwrights were not rich. So in order for them to start a project as big as having a play on a stage wasn't easy financially. So that's why they would need the financial help of, sponsors that we call patrons or patrons at the time. So this is the system of patronage under which people like Shakespeare and Webster and Christopher Marlowe worked. We also spoke about the Middle Ages. We spoke about the transition from the Middle Ages to the Renaissance and the difference that we have. That the themes are now more secular in the Elizabethan and in the Renaissance periods. Remember when we spoke about governance, good governance, the idea of established orders, the idea of hierarchies, whether those hierarchies are hierarchies of colors or hierarchies of rank and class, and also the idea of the consequences, dire as they are, if you transgress against those established hierarchies, what happens to you if you go against the norm, if you go against the mores of society. And this is what we have seen happening with Othello and with the Duchess of Malfi. Remember, Othello is, as a play, is based on the idea of a hierarchy of color and race, where you have people who are white on top and you have people who are black at the bottom. And there is no way the two can reach out in terms of marriage. And there was no such thing as interfaith marriage and interracial marriages like we see nowadays. It doesn't exist. Intercaste marriages did not exist at the time. Okay, you need to keep to your class, you need to keep to your color, you need to keep to your caste. And what happens if you don't keep to those things? You have to face the music, you have to suffer, and suffer they did. Our friends, whether we're talking about Othello and Desdemona or the Duchess and Antonio, they suffered a lot because they went against the norms of their societies. Um, and that's why we have the tragedy. We have the dramatic framework that we call tragedy, because tragedies have this idea of suffering, has this idea of making errors and mistakes, and some of those errors and mistakes are very fatal, and they lead to the downfall, the tragic downfall of the tragic hero. And this is what we have seen with Othello, in the character of Othello, and this is what we have seen with the Duchess of Malfi in the character of the Duchess of Malfi, right? So we're not revisiting this because it's now very clear. So again, the dramatic framework that we're using with the two plays is very befitting, is very appropriate, because we're talking about people making errors, and those errors are very fatal, and they suffer accordingly, and we suffer with them, of course. And then finally they fall tragically, and we have those feelings of pity and fear. Remember, this is part of what a tragedy is, or aims to have those excessive feelings of pity and fear coming out. And this is what we call catharsis, like I said. Again, when we talk about Othello, the play, we need to talk about it as a tragedy. And of course, you know the trajectory of a tragedy. We start off as, the tragic hero starts off as happy, as fortunate, noble, and exceptional. And over time, he starts to kind of falter and perhaps make errors. Normally those errors are errors of judgment. They lead to physical errors, life errors. And of course, that would lead him to his inevitable downfall at the end. So we're moving from uh, fortune to misfortune, or from prosperity to adversity. And you know what happens in the middle. So when we talk about Othello and we say that it is a tragedy, absolutely it is a tragedy. When we talk about Othello and we say that he is a tragic hero, he is a tragic hero, right? With what tragic hero means and entails. Something very important about Othello would be the idea that critics and scholars are polarized over the character of Othello. You have people who are very pro Othello. They believe that Othello is noble, Othello is musical, Othello is a real gentleman, and it's only that he was led by the evil Iago. So he has nothing, he has nothing to do with what happened to him was not something that he willed, if you like. He was perhaps deceived, which means that you're taking the agency away from him, which is obviously another issue. So you have people like Wilson Knight and I don't remember the name of the other guy. Those people were for Othello all the time. They even not condoned, they even were ready to forgive him for killing Desdemona. I mean, they spoke about the audience, and they said that the audience was kind of ready to accept Othello after he killed his wife because he is a victim uh, um, of circumstance and the fact that he didn't will it and he was tricked. I mean, obviously, when you say that, so you're kind of uh, 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 shifting the emphasis. So instead of us focusing on Othello, the titular hero, we would focus on perhaps Iago because Iago then would have the agency, who would be perhaps more active, more vibrant. So why would we call the play Othello and give it the title Othello if the shift is now moved to Iago, right? So this is something that critics were warning against, the idea that if we keep talking about Othello as being blameless because he didn't mean it, or perhaps he didn't do anything and he was led, it means that we're saying that he is stupid and that he is foolish, that he is inexperienced. And if you say all of this, it means that you don't have a tragic hero, because a tragic hero should be exceptional, should be super smart. So if you're taking these things away from him, you're leaving him nothing. So why would he be the titular hero? Why would we say that the play is Othello and is about Othello? The other camp, like I said, would say that no, Othello has agency and he meant what he did, that he is self-dramatizing, that he does that. They didn't say on purpose, but they said that he creates, situations and atmospheres where he would stand out and wait for people to applaud his deeds or his misdeeds, and if they are not achievements that he is after, so it would be also misfortunes. He is ready to even put himself in situations where people can pity him. So this is self-dramatization, and people like T.S. Eliot and F.R. Leaves spoke about. So they say that Othello, remember what F.R. Leaves said, that the gate is within, I'm sorry, the traitor is within the gates. Remember when I asked you what they meant? We said when we say that the traitor is within the gates, it means that the traitor, the one who betrayed him, is within himself. Who is within yourself? It's you, right? So we shouldn't look for external factors. This is what Leaves is saying. I mean, he himself is responsible for what happened to him because of his this idea of showing off, this idea of wanting people to talk about him, whether to talk about him in a positive way or in a perhaps a pitiful way. Remember what we said also about his set of complexes and uh, um, insecurities. This is also one of the things that we spoke about when it comes to Othello. So remember those insecurities that we spoke about? Somebody's raising her hand. Kanzi, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question actually regarding Othello's and the characters. Oh, sorry, the critics. What some critics say that he was a fool and he deserved what happened to him. Some others say he doesn't. But what if I agree with both, like in my essay in the exam? Can I say that I agree with both and like put both ideas and like describe or explain why I agree with them both? Or like, do
Absolutely,
I have to
you
stick
can,
with one
yes.
idea?
No, I mean, obviously the question is normally about what critics said, but the fact that they are polarized over his character. In this case, you mention both sides. And perhaps if you want at the end of the essay to clarify your position, you would like to tell us where you stand on that, that's fine too. So of course, I invite everyone to kind of include both positions when it comes to Othello's character. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Lena.
I just wanted to answer one of Othello's insecurity was that his age. He was insecure about his age because Desdemona was younger than him.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you're correct. He is way older than herself, and this is yeah, that this is one of his insecurities. What other insecurities do we have?
His race and his color.
Yes, the fact that
Like,
he is yeah,
there is
he's
that
not
one scene when he was trying to describe for the Duke and Desdemona's dad why he deserves her. It was like he's trying to convince himself more than
than
convincing
anybody
them.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah. Color is very important. We talk about a black individual in a sea of white people. So you normally feel different. It's not like nowadays when you travel to any European country, you have people who are white and people who are black. So you don't feel different. But remember, we're talking about the 16th and the 17th century where transportation was not, they didn't have airplanes and stuff. So the idea or the likelihood that you see so many uh, black people or dark people in European countries was not that big, or the likelihood was not that high. So he was on his own as a black individual. So that may have left an impact on him. And again, people were not as educated at the time, so they would make you feel different, okay, by perhaps looking at you. I mean, they can simply look at you. They don't say nothing, but they simply look at you and you feel different in a negative way, of course. So color was very important. His race, the fact that, I mean, even his religion, the fact that it is true that he is presented as perhaps Christian in the play. We are told perhaps that he is Muslim. Normally, people who come from North Africa, at least at the time, were primarily Muslim. So and there was hence that he is a Muslim. Again, so you're talking about a place where 99% or perhaps 100% of the population are Christian. So he would feel different. Spoke about age, we spoke about race and color. We spoke also about the fact that he is a military individual, given to wars, given to battles. This is where he thrives best. So if you take him away from that um, area of activity and engagement, perhaps he wouldn't do as well. And this is what we have seen. I mean, when he went to Cyprus and there was a ceasefire between the Turks and the Venetians, obviously this is when and where the problem started. See, because if he was engaged in war with the Turks, he wouldn't have thought about those ideas, and even Iago would have been having his hands full, and he wouldn't think of deceiving him the way he did. So the idea of insecurities is very crucial, is very important. What else did we say about Othello? And there is always this comparison between Desdemona and what's the other lady's name?
Emilia.
Yeah, Emilia, the wife of Iago. And again, you need to compare the character of Desdemona at the beginning and her character towards the end, and the change that we have seen, the sea of change that has undertook her or undertaken her. Remember, she started off very valiant. This is what we know about her. Remember when we got to know that she defied her family and her society by getting married to somebody who is not her color, he is not her age, he is not her religion. So they are not equal in any way. And she decided to go it alone and kind of resist and defy her country and its norms and everything. So that would make her very strong and very tough. Towards the end of the play, she is very submissive and very non-assertive. You even compare her to Emilia, and you see that Emilia is stronger than her. You see that Emilia is much tougher than her. That Emilia makes more sense towards the end of the play than her. And who is Emilia? Emilia is a maid servant. So you wouldn't expect a maid servant to be strong, to be tough, to be even wiser than her mistress, the woman that she works for. So you need to always compare those. And you need to think of what Emilia said and whether it makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. It resonates with all of us. What she said about women and why if they make errors, why they are obviously pushed to make errors. They are prompted by what their husbands do. I mean, this is what she said. She
Doctor, can I
started.
add something?
Can I finish something? Uh, um, what I'm trying to say that Emilia started off talking about the rights of women before the term was invented. The right, we now talk about the rights of women, but this was in the 17th century. This was way back. So she is very pioneer. She's very pioneering in that, right? So Emilia started off by talking about women as being as sensible as human as it gets. I mean, comparing them, women to men, and how um, similar they are. And then she started to say that if we make mistakes, it's because our husbands push us to do that. So it was a very brilliant speech upon the part of Emilia, if you still remember. So you need to think of this. You need to make those parallels and comparisons. And perhaps you need to kind of go out of your way and make comparisons and parallels between, excuse me, the character of Desdemona and the character of the Duchess of Malfi. Remember how valiant and how courageous the Duchess of Malfi is. The Duchess of Malfi didn't change. She was very resolute in her decisions. I mean, the Duchess of Malfi at the beginning is the Duchess of Malfi at the beginning, no change, very resolute, very courageous. Even when she dies in dignity. Remember when we compared her to the death of the other characters and how humiliating the death were. Remember, it was more perhaps comic and less noble and everything. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, what's your name? Kanzi.
Yes, I wanted to talk about Desdemona.
Yeah.
You said that I actually want to say that she was a weak person the whole time because you can see her father saying that my daughter could never speak to me, she doesn't have a voice. But it was a one time thing when she married Othello and started defending her love. But her personality is already weak from the start.
I mean, who did? I mean, we're measuring using and what she did. Obviously, if I say that you're weak, Kanzi, would people believe me? Or I mean, so if
No,
somebody comes out and say that Kanzi is bad, should I believe him? So people say whatever they want to say. They want to say. I mean, her father is giving us his perception of girls at the time. Remember that this is a time when there was a great deal of misogyny. Misogyny is women hating. There was a great deal of maligning of women when you treat women in a negative way, even if you're a father. So it's not about giving her food and shelter. There is obviously more to women's rights than just food and shelter. Don't you agree? So obviously they were given food and shelter, but they were denied all the rights. So I'm not surprised if her father comes and said that she was very meek. She wouldn't be able to perhaps go outside the house or do this. This is the father, and this is his stereotypical attitude as a male. Okay, he is after all a male, and he has his own perceptions about women. Okay, so obviously his negative perceptions about women outweigh his love for his daughter. Okay, so she wasn't weak ولا حاجة, and I'm judging her based on what she did, not what other people are saying about her. What she did was very valiant and very courageous to defy and go against your traditions, to defy and go against the norms of society and the mores of society. This is very daring and this is very courageous, if you ask me. Okay, طيب. What else about Othello, if you still remember the issues that we've been talking about all through? Othello, the character of Iago. Iago is a self-confessed rogue. It means that he is a rogue. He is um, uh, a scoundrel, a bad person, and he admits it. He doesn't hide this. Um, again, we talk about his agency, but if we talk about his agency, this is taking away from the heroism, the tragic heroism of Othello, uh, if uh, if you ask me. So, but we still sometimes we feel, and this is something that we keep warning ourselves against, the idea that you may be attracted to him, attracted to his vibes, attracted to his diligence, even in evil. He is very steadfast in his, yeah, I mean, I don't know how to say that, in his evilness. I mean, he is very consistent. He doesn't change his mind. He knows what he wants and he goes for it. This is, of course, very bad. We're not promoting this kind of evil, of course. We're just saying. So if you're not careful, you may like his character. people normally compare the character of Iago to the character of Bussola in The Duchess of Malfi. What did we say? We said that Bussola is more profound, is deeper in terms of the philosophies that he brings, the wisdom that he brings to the play. It is true that we're perplexed and confused about what kind of character he is. I mean, he does something evil and then he follows that with perhaps repentance and remorse and all, but and then when he speaks about it, he speaks in a very philosophical way. You feel that you are in the spectacle of a philosophical killer or murderer, whatever that means. So he is deep and he is given some space to reflect on some of the issues in the play, the idea of hypocrisy and the idea that people to get promoted and to get higher in the social ladder, they have to kind of flatter those who are higher than themselves. It's not about merit. What Busola is stressing is the fact that it's not a merit-based kind of social advancement. You don't get advanced socially and materially through your own hands, through your hard work. No, this is not merit. You get that through flattering those who are in high places. And obviously, if you have time and energy for hypocrisy, you wouldn't have time to work very hard and do stuff. So this is very important when it comes to the character of Busola. And also Busola brings to us or brings to the play the traditional role of the malcontented character. We spoke about the malcontent, and the malcontent is a character that we see in revenge tragedies and in the tragedies of the time in Shakespeare's other plays and tragedies, where this malcontented guy is he is low-born, he works in a royal court, and he is partly good, and he has a lot to say about what he sees in the royal court in terms of corruption and hypocrisy and inside dealings, and he comments on them, he lashes out at them, and this is what what's his name, what Busola is doing all the time. What else? I think these are the parallels that we can draw between Othello and the Duchess of Malfi. This is as far as Othello is concerned, unless I'm missing out on something, and of course I may be missing something here and there, because the play is very rich and it has so many ideas and themes. Let's move to the Duchess of Malfi. So it's the same climate of ideas. Remember the difference in terms of time, the time gap between the Elizabethan and the Jacobean is not that big. We're talking about perhaps 15 or 20 years difference. And obviously that this is not a big, a big enough time period for things to change drastically. So it's the same climate of ideas. They may differ in how they look, but they don't differ in degree. It's the same intensity when it comes to attitudes and moods. Again, we still have this idea of hierarchy. We still have this idea of classes and pigeonholing people, putting them in their different places, and the idea that you have to stick to your own class and your own rank and your own race. So we said that if Othello is about color and race, the Duchess of Malfi is about rank and class. So you have different classes, people in high classes, people middle class, and people who are low class. So again, you have people who are high born individuals, and you have people who are low born. Again, the possibility that they meet and have those kinds of relationships when it comes to marriage and stuff shouldn't be there according to the time. So what happens if you you know decide to go against those established beliefs and ideas? So obviously you will have to suffer. And suffer they did. The people that we have met in the Duchess of Malfi suffered with that, especially when we talk about the Duchess of Malfi. Of course, you know what she did. She was the sitting queen of the land, and she decides that she wants to get married to Antonio, who happens to be very low. He is low born. He belongs I mean the low class, and obviously this is disrupting the whole system, and obviously it wouldn't go scot-free. She has to pay for that, and she did pay for that, as we have seen. One way of depriving her of the status that she was building would be dramatically to have her disappear in Act 4. Remember what we said about the controversy about Act 4, the fact that she was killed in Act 4, not in Act 5, and we said that this is even can be considered as male bias. The writer is male, and the members of the audience are for the most part male. So it was only natural that and the writer would go back on what he did. Remember, we said that he did something quite unheard of to have a tragic heroine, not hero. But he couldn't wait. Obviously, he realized that he made a mistake. That's why he killed her in Act 4, not in Act 5. um, what else did we say about the Duchess of Malfi? We said that it is a tragedy, but it is also a revenge tragedy. Revenge tragedy because we have a great deal of revenge. People are killing each other, are running after each other and kill each other. And this is even more so in Act 5, if you still remember what happened in Act 5. So it was a carnage. Everybody's killing everybody else. So it's a revenge tragedy, and you need to always remember the characteristics of revenge tragedies. And I think by now you know what those characteristics are. What did we say about the tragedy? I'm sorry, the characteristics of a revenge tragedy. Somebody's raising her hand. Go ahead, Aya.
I wanted to ask you a question, Professor, but I can also answer your question. Revenge tragedies are when the protagonist dies a tragic death. The hero of a story has an awful
No, this is
ending.
obviously you're talking about tragedies. Tragedies
Yes.
end the way you do.
I'm sorry, I wasn't done
yeah,
with the answer.
because
Uh,
what you're saying is would apply more
I know. I was building
to
up
a
to the
tragedy.
answer. I
Okay.
was building up to the answer. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So it's usually when revenge takes place when the antagonist or the opposing voice wants to take revenge on the protagonist by causing him his downfall or trying to kill him or ruin his reputation. I'm sorry if that's not enough. I wasn't prepared to answer the question as much as I was going to ask you a different question.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, let's
I wanted to
forget
ask you
about
if
the
it's
part because you're obviously mixing and you're coming
yeah,
up
I
with
was
your
bad
own
timing.
definition
That's it.
of what a
It
revenge
was bad
tragedy is.
timing.
That's
I
fine.
wanted to ask, I know it's a revenge tragedy, but it's also considered a domestic tragedy, right? Can we also mention that?
Well, I don't believe it's a domestic tragedy. Obviously, it's bigger. I mean, I would say that would apply more to Othello, where you have this internal uh, or those internal affairs between Othello and Desdemona, and we have a great deal of talk about when he used to go to her family house and she would overhear what he says about his deeds and acts, and then this is obviously what endeared him to her. So it was domestic for the most part, but you wouldn't apply that with much ease or as much ease with the Duchess of Malfi, where you have this mixture between whatever is royal, we're talking about the royal court of Malfi, and whatever is familial. So I wouldn't say that it is I would kind of leave the label or put or stick the label more comfortably with Othello. But I have other with the Duchess, we have other labels when we say, for example, that it is a revenge tragedy, where you have the characteristics of revenge tragedies. Um, does it mean that when we talk about Othello, because it has also bloodshed, do we say that it is a revenge tragedy? No, it's not a revenge tragedy, even though we have blood, because the other characteristics of a revenge tragedy wouldn't apply or are not there. That would bring us to the elements and the characteristics of a revenge tragedy.
But wasn't
As
Iago trying to take revenge because he was angry at Othello
yeah,
because of
this
what
is
he
yeah,
did?
well, yes. But this is what I'm trying to say is that it is only one single element. When we talk, that you're going to listen to what we have to say about that revenge tragedy as given in the Duchess of Malfi, and you're going to see that we have lots of characteristics that would apply more to the Duchess of Malfi than to Othello. So Othello, the only element of revenge tragedy that we have is the fact that we have people killing, that you have Iago trying to take revenge from Othello, and then Othello killing his wife and then killing himself in the process. But this is an element. What about the other elements? When you have a play within a play, when you have a dumb show, when you have the character of the malcontent, when you have stage props like a poisoned Bible, and when you have swords, these are all elements that you see in the Duchess of Malfi, but you don't see any of them in Othello. See? So it's about the features and the elements that apply more here and apply less over there. So again, let's talk about the elements of revenge tragedy. So in order for a play to fit in as a revenge tragedy, it has to have this and that. What are those things that I've been obviously highlighting and I spoke about more than once? Revenge, of course. You have revenge, people taking revenge from each other, and of course you have that. You have the play within a play, you have the dumb show. These are all elements of the revenge tragedies, right? We have stage props like swords, like documents, like boys and Bibles, and this is um, there. Again, the character of the malcontent is also a revenge tragedy characteristic or element. Okay. What else did we talk about when we speak about the Duchess of Malfi? We talk about the royal court and those comparisons between the French royal court and the Malfi royal court. We talk about those analogies that Antonio was making. Remember comparing, any royal court to a public or a common fountain. Okay, so common fountain, when you have a common fountain, remember I told you that in the past they didn't have running water or water taps. You go to in your house, you turn it on and you have water. No, they didn't have that. So in order for them to secure water for cooking, for cleaning, people have to go to a common fountain and they take money. So it's in the best interest of everyone that the fountain be kept clean and pure, right? So what happens if it is not clean or pure? You will get poisoned. Okay, when you have the water back home and you drink it, or your mom, for example, cooks using it, you may get poisoned. So again, it's in the best interest of everyone that those fountains be kept clean and pure. So what Antonio is doing is that he is comparing a common fountain to the royal court. So if the royal court is also good and there is no corruption, there is no bad people, this is going to affect the entire society. Okay, so you see the parallelism and the correspondence between them. This is a very powerful analogy that Antonio was making. At one point, he would also talk about, uh, um, I think it was the fountain having, if it's corrupt or if it's not pure, you'll have all kinds of insects, moving around and being on the surface. And this is, of course, very poisonous. Yeah, go ahead, yeah, Tagharit.
Doctor, can I have a question about, are we going to have a close reading question about Antonio and the differences between the chords?
Yeah, you can. I mean, normally, if you would have a quotation, on one, and you may want to refer to the others. So obviously, you have one single quotation. Again, when we give you quotations to comment on, and this is what we call close reading, they are very significant. We don't just give you anything. It is very significant. That's why you need to not miss the significance by talking about other things. So you need to focus and you need to underline the things that you think are relevant and important. Possible close reading passages and quotes would be something like perhaps the soliloquy, Othello's soliloquy at the end of the play. Remember, we spent much time on that, talking about how he was driven to believe that, it was a self-hating kind of thing. Um, he was made to believe that he is bad, that he is evil. He started to internalize that, and at the end, he thought that he is killing the bad uh, uh, person within himself, whether he is black, whether he is non-Christian, whether he is non-Venetian, and all those kinds. So this is a very significant passage. What other passages? Again, when we talk about the Wellu scene or song, the encounter between Emilia and Desdemona, perhaps the quotation where Emilia is speaking and is highlighting the fact that women are as human as males and men, and those statements that she was making. The echo scene, remember, which is part of the temptation scene. Remember this echoing, my Lord, and honest, my Lord. That can be also very significant. Othello, when he was defending himself in front of Parapansio, these are some very significant, possible passages. And then again, the Duchess of Malfi is also full of significant, passages and quotes. Remember, again, what the characters were saying. Remember, in their moments, um, in their dying moments, they started to reflect on life, and the conclusion would be that life is futile, the vanity of human wishes, whatever we're doing is nothing and will come to nothing because we're nothing. This is obviously the conclusion. It's very defeatist, I know, very pessimistic, but this is what they realize. I mean, you try your hard, you do this, you want to be this and that, and at the end you're reduced to, and this is very negative. So this is the conclusion that we have gotten. Focus on what Antonio is saying about what life is. Focus on what the philosophical guy Musola is saying about life and how he is kind of linking it to cosmology, and again Fernand and you know, the conclusion with Fernand is that we are prisoners of our own moods, and obviously our characters are our destiny. You cannot change your character, and obviously. So this part is very significant, what they say about life at the end, life lessons. And unfortunately, those life lessons are negative. I mean, it's about the futility of life and the futility of human wishes and the vanity of human wishes. Um, Again, what else about the Duchess of Malfi? Um, what else I don't seem to remember. Yeah, Hind, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Ask. What do you mean by study stories only? There is obviously more to what we're doing than just the storyline. We finish the storyline in a minute or two. So obviously, as English major students, I mean, it's bigger than that, way bigger than that. Tagreed, go ahead.
Yes, doctor. For the Duchess of Malfi, are we going to explain the torture scene that she? Of course, you speak about it during the lecture, but I mean for her children, because they bring a corpse. How many corpses? But they didn't mention about the other children of her, their faith, for example.
No,
No
this
need
is
for this one to be
no,
mentioned.
no, not very significant. We know that she had children, and we know that she had children when she got married to Antonio. This is how far it can go. But I mean, obviously, that wouldn't add much. That wouldn't inform the discussion.
But only we will speak about the torture scene itself. Right? Right?
I didn't get the question.
I mean, if we will write about the Duchess of Malfi, for me, if I want to explain about her courage, about the torture scene in details, I have to, or just mention it like within the story.
Yeah, what is courageous about having children?
No, I mean
Mm,
the torture scene
mm.
itself.
Okay,
That
that's fine, yeah, Tari. No problem.
okay, thank you.
Uh, okay. Any any ideas that I missed that you think I missed in the Duchess of Malfi? Okay. Would you like
Um,
me? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, Shaden.
yes, Doctor, I want to know the development of Bzala's character. Is it significant? Where he regrets in the
Busola?
end.
Busola?
Bazola, yes, and he wants to take revenge on the cardinal.
Well, I don't know. I mean, if you ask me and my personal opinion, I didn't get swayed by what he does. I mean, for me, he is as bad as it gets right from the very beginning. I mean, the idea that you do something evil and then the next moment you come and repent, and then when we think that you are truly repenting, and then you come up again and do something evil and then you repent, you don't have this consistency when it comes to repentance for us to decide that this guy is truly repentant. Even at the end, we have those hints that he took revenge uh, um, in the name of the Duchess only after he went to Antonio, when he went to Ferdinand asking for a reward for killing Ferdinand's sister, the Duchess. It's only when he was denied this kind of reward that he started to take revenge and to try to convince us that he was truly repentant. But if you ask me, no, he didn't show enough signs of true remorse and true